Good evening, and welcome to our regularly scheduled council meeting. Today is Monday, September 16th, 2019 at 6 o'clock. Please turn your cell phones off or put them on vibrate. Wait while I do that to my own. Unless prearranged, public comment sections are limited to 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, we have a timer that goes off. We'll ask you to complete your statements, and please sit down. The comment sections on the agenda are not a question and answer session, and the first agenda item is limited to the first comment, public comments is listed for the, limited to the agenda items only. The last public comment section is anything you'd like to talk about, and we ask it if you want to discuss something with your neighbor, please keep it quiet so everybody around you can hear what's going on. So if you would join me with the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have with us Ms. Christine Klein. She is from the Niles First Christian Church of the Nazarene to lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for every seat that has been filled here today. For each mind and heart that fills your presence of this room, we thank you. Only you truly know what we're going to accomplish today. We have ideas, visions, hints, and daily instructions, but everything is to you. Every project, every season, every life. Nothing is in vain. Not even our mistakes. You use them for good. Bless this meeting today, all those who are present, as well as the lives of those we will encounter afterwards. Ready us to make every moment count. It's in your precious holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Could the clerk please take roll?
Alberini, Bariak, Sept, here.
Do you have a motion to excuse Mr. Alberini?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I'd like to know if Mr. Alberini had let us know why he's not here.
He's his business.
Well, he wasn't here last meeting either, sir. I excused him,
I think
but
he was sick last meeting.
Oh, he was sick last meeting?
Well, actually, he was in the hospital, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I just asked if he left any kind of
We just asked
I
for.
excused him, didn't I?
You did.
Oh, thank you.
Roll, please.
Bariak,
Yes.
Sept,
Yes.
Beer.
Yes.
All right. If, with council's indulgence, we'd like to move Resolution 47-219, item number 3 under new business up to this point. Is there any objections to that? Father Conroy, would you please step to the podium, please? This is Resolution 47-2019, a resolution in recognition for Father Sean Conroy of St. Mary's and St. Joseph's Church. Whereas Father Conroy has, with a deep devotion and professional commitment, served the Newton Falls St. Mary and St. Joseph's Church, and whereas Father Conroy has shown an outstanding commitment to the Newton Falls community, and whereas the City of Newton Falls City Council would like to acknowledge and thank Father Sean Conroy for his service to the City of Newton Falls and recognize him for his professionalism and for his commitment to the City of Newton Falls throughout his time with St. Mary and St. Joseph's Church. Council for the City of Newton Falls, State of Ohio, hereby resolves, Section 1, the City of Newton Falls City Council, State of Ohio, hereby recognizes and commends Father Conroy for his professionalism and dedication to his profession and to the City of Newton Falls. Section 2, Newton Falls City Council hereby requests all residents to join us in wishing Father Conroy continued success in the future. Is there a motion to accept this resolution? Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, when it's appropriate, I'd like to be heard on this measure.
Please do so.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this resolution honors Father Conroy, and it's kind of interesting, Father, because it describes in this resolution your professionalism and your commitment to the City of Newton Falls. But I almost hate to see the term professionalism used because you not only presented yourself in your work over there, really not as a profession, but of course as your dedication to the community over there. Every person over at St. Mary's felt touched by you, and there are two things that always come to mind that people have said about you. And this isn't a roast or anything, but you projected an authentic holiness and in priests. I think there's, unfortunately, sometimes a tendency to priests that lead a congregation to default into being administrators. And sometimes I think, priests forget that they need to be men of prayer and dedication to God, God's faith, and tremendous humility, and ingratiating yourself into the membership of the parish. And everyone is very sad to see you leaving that parish. You left a permanent mark, and the members of the parish feel holier, they feel closer to God, and if there's any measure of success, it's as you bring people closer to God and improve their chances of getting into heaven. And we're kind of all here, right? We're not here for ourselves. The way we benefit ourselves is how many other people can we drag into heaven with us along the way? And nobody is charged with that duty more than the priest. And Father Conroy has been an inspiration throughout this community, and you're going to be sorely missed. I hope one day the bishop says, well, we're going to assign you right back again, because the city of Newton Falls is a holier, more blessed, and I should say happier and peaceful people because of the time that you spent here. And on behalf of myself and the congregation and this entire community, this resolution is a piece of paper with maybe a token of the esteem in which you are held, but nonetheless, I know I speak on behalf of thousands when I say thank you for all that you've done for our community.
Anything else? Roll, please.
Sept?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch, counsel, will you join over, Father over here?
I'll get you right in the center here.
Jump right in the middle there. This is from us to you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Congratulations. Good luck in the future.
Would it be appropriate to make a couple comments?
Sure, come back.
Yes, very much so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank City Council for this recognition, for this certificate. I'm glad that some of the work and ministry that I've done here has been a benefit to the city. And I'm glad, of course, I was glad to be part of this community for over a year, and to be able to participate in its life. It really was wonderful. And so as I leave, I pray that St. Mary and St. Joseph Parish will continue to be a benefit to Newton Falls. And I pray that the parish and the city will continue to serve all of our citizens here, especially the most in need. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Father.
All right, back on the agenda. Anyone wishing to make public comments?
Katie Carl, 128 West Quarry. On here listed are the finance director and and I don't know that the chief's report you're going to also be addressing this evening. So the finance reports that are going to be addressed, I would ask council to really look at, and if that was an audit or an unfinished audit, I'm not sure. But before you vote on the finance report, I would ask all of council to truly look at the reports and look into all of the the pages. I am not a financial expert by no way, shape, or form, but I would question myself, some of the things that are there, and pardon me? Well, thank you very much, because my concern is, and one of the things that you just brought to the table this year is
I'll answer all that for you.
will you?
Yes, I will.
Okay, and in the chief's report also, we had and I know it's not listed, but the walk yesterday, the chief, the police department, I want to thank the police department and the chief for participating and being there. That was wonderful, and thank you for the city manager was there, and thank you very much for the support that has been shown from the city. Excuse me. It's greatly appreciated, and Mr. Beer, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, under the reports, pretty interesting last couple of weeks. The city manager and I had a really, really nice meeting with our new state rep, Mr. Gil Blair. He's from the area. He was a township trustee in Weathersfield. He understands the valley, understands the area. Just a really, really, what I think is a breath of fresh air, and interested in what's going on in Trumbull County and in his district, really interested. We had a meeting with David DeCristofaro, which was a very, very interesting meeting. City manager and I went to Columbus to meet with the Ohio Rail Commission on our spur. That was exciting. I was really glad to see that there is some real interest now that CSX has completed their abandonment of the railroad. The Port Authority was there, Eastgate was there, Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber. Gil Blair actually came down and met with us there also. The Ohio Rail Commission, there was a gentleman from the CSX in Columbus and a gentleman that flew in from CSX in Jacksonville, Florida to be with us. And the Trumbull County Planning and Zoning Commission, our Planning Commission was there, some by phone. So we had a really good discussion. We're waiting for some information from CSX to move forward with the rail. And I look for some good things with that. Met with Folk and Sons on the stormwater issues in the community, and I want to put a special thank you out to the J.J. CAFR family. David Lynch and Terry Alberini and myself were invited to the 50th anniversary gala out at the Eastwood Mall. It was a special invitation deal, and it was quite a show last night to celebrate 50 years of the Eastwood Mall. Very nice to be invited and considered to go to that. So I really appreciate that. And David might have something to say about that later. Mr. Sept. Mr. Boriak.
No committees to report.
Mr. Beer.
Nothing this week.
Attorney Fritz.
Report available for questions.
Any questions for the law director? Mr. Lynch, I'll let you go ahead, we'll come back.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate
Since
it.
you sent her out of the room, so.
Yeah. Members of council, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, I want to report that we have spent a substantial amount of time trying to resolve the issue of the intersection in front of the Rite Aid building. As you know, I mentioned at the last meeting that intersection was exempted / deleted by the state of Ohio in the resurfacing of 534. Councilman Sept has played a significant role in our communications regarding that, as has the mayor, and with contributions from other members of council and our staff. And the fact of the matter is that we are finding a way, no pun intended, to pave the way for a solution. We received some initial cost estimates from the County of Trumbull's engineer office today, and we're expecting another set of proposals from the contractor that did the original 534 resurfacing. And the objective is then to evaluate all of those by Thursday morning and then come up with a solution that allows us to get that done before the snow flies. So take heart, have a sense of confidence that we will, in fact, get that important issue resolved. I know that everybody is over in those neighborhoods. Councilman Sept is concerned because the beautiful resurfacing of 534, the resurfacing of West Broad Street would otherwise create, it's kind of like a smudge mark on a beautiful new dress. And we want to make sure that's taken care of. The mayor mentioned briefly the meeting with State Representative Blair, but the mayor's input was very helpful in the meeting we had with the state representative. And behind the scenes, he's been working hard as well. It seems like we've kind of set up a crew team and we're all rowing in the same direction. And that's why I think by Thursday morning, we'll have an answer that everybody will be pleased with. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report this evening.
Any questions for the city manager? Ms. Busson, you disappeared. We'll go back to you.
All right. Honorable Mayor, members of council, and the public, honorable members that are citizens. I am very honored and distinguished that the city of Newton Falls, for the very first time, has completed what's called a CAFR, which stands for a Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. We are the first, or one of the first villages in the state of Ohio to ever accomplish this. An enormous amount of work has went into this. I'm extremely grateful for this city council, all department heads, the leadership of our city manager, for maintaining the highest level of professionalism in the management of our city finances. I'm going to explain a little bit more what a CAFR is about. In Ohio, we basically report on cash basis, cash in and cash out. But what this CAFR is, it actually makes it as a financial report that's GAAP basis, which that is generally accepted accounting principles. It's very detailed. It's a financial report that was submitted part of my monthly report. It basically is as a business, if you were like in the widget company, this is a comprehensive, detailed report with many layers. So it's going to provide you financial highlights from 2018. It's going to provide you the net statement incomes for all the funds. It's going to also, the readers of this report, it's over 100 pages long. I suggest to read the notes. The notes are extremely detailed. They will give you an understanding of our basic financial statement and our financial performance. Overall, in the year 2018, the village total net position increased by $892,149 in 2018. But again, this is a huge report with 10 years worth of data of financial statistics, and this report cannot be completed with all the teamwork and the leadership. We made phone calls after phone calls to get this done, and I thank everyone for the help getting this report done. In addition of this report, there's July financials and August financials included in the report, which I can go on to that section of my report. But I just want to say thank you for the leadership and your help with getting this CAFR completed. It has been submitted to the Government Finance Officers Association, and we're praying that we will receive a certificate. And just give you some highlights of what's going on right now. We are working on applying for more grants for the playground equipment at the park. We are also just received what's called a NOPEC cell phone tower grant, where at public events such as the chili cook-off, 4th of July out here in the public. So when you have your cell phone battery die, you can hook it up to this charging station. So we have been awarded that. Those conclude my remarks.
Any questions for the finance director? Thank you very much, and thank you for the phone calls, and thank you for the work you put into this. So you could tell that there was just a tremendous amount of information that you had to come up with. So thank you for your work and appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could be recognized.
Yes, please.
Members of council, this city has never had a CAFR, ever in its history, and we're not sure any village has ever had a CAFR in its history. And what it does for you is A CAFR means you've had an analysis of the financial condition and historical representation over the financial activities of the city over the last year that you've never had before and that you can look at with a great sense of confidence. There was a question that Ms. Carl brought up earlier about an audit. This isn't an audit. This is a full comprehensive report, much more detail than audit, much more detail than an audit, and a much higher level of reliability. If this community, for example, had to go out and borrow money, we would have to get a rating from a bond rating agency to determine the reliability of our financial condition. This CAFR puts us in a position where any bond rating agency would take a look at our situation. And remember, these accountants are now standing behind this so that they could determine and say to the rest of the world, this CAFR says to the rest of the world, the financial condition of the village of Newton Falls is sound, very sound, and will be sound going into the future. And we're going to be making this available online so that any citizen can take a look at it and have a great level of confidence in what we're doing here. And my intention is to continue getting a comprehensive annual financial report every single year so that everybody can have a very high level of confidence of where we stand.
Thank you. Any changes to tonight's agenda?
Yeah, I have one. I want to add a motion to have our October 21st meeting as our first budget meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
Beer?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Svet?
Yes.
That'll be item number 6. We have a motion to accept the September 3rd, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Bariak?
Yes.
Svet?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Tonight we have a public hearing on Ordinance 2019-25. That's the authorization of sales of .0572 acres to Melody and John Turner. Is there anyone here speaking for or against? Roll that closed. The clerk, please read Ordinance 2019-25 by title.
An ordinance selling 0.0572 acres of parcel 53-264960 to John and Melody Turner.
Is there a motion to accept Ordinance 2019-25? Second? Discussion? One of the things that since nobody said anything, just a question for the law director. There's an outstanding zoning or code enforcement issue with this property. Can we tie that completion of that to this ordinance, or do anything that we can, do we need to, or can we? Because so we can make sure that ordinance is
I'm aware
compliant.
what the zoning issue is, sir.
Okay. Well, I have a good idea what it is, so I just don't know if tonight's the way to.
The answer is, upon completion, we still have the right to go forward with enforcement of our zoning. So if you're asking whether or not we should insist that be done, that's for council to decide, and I have nothing I can weigh in on that because I don't know what the zoning violation may be.
Okay.
They have not brought to me a complaint for zoning to be filed by the prosecution's office.
Talk about that.
I'm sorry?
Can I talk about the?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
sure
as far as I understand, the issue is failure to get a permit for the structure that was placed on the property, and there's a driveway issue of complying with the new ordinance of blacktop and concrete, so they didn't get a permit to put their structure in.
Then that is something that you can make this transfer and still enforce that portion of the zoning. The general remedy is to have it, they apply for the permit. I'm assuming the building would come in, it would be proper, but again, there's a lot of crystal ball looking to answer this question.
Okay, well, I just wanted, it was brought up, and I thought I'd ask and bring it up so we could find out. All right, any other comments? Roll, please.
Svet?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Bariak?
Would you please read Resolution 45-2019?
Resolution authorizing the city manager to direct the services of Youngstown State University to undertake a housing survey as required by the Ohio Revised Code as a precursor to creating a community reinvestment area in Newton Falls.
Is there a motion to accept? Second? Second. Mr. Sept, this is your...
Yes. So, as required under Ohio Revised Code, we have to do a housing survey to determine what quality our housing stock is currently, and that will determine our eligibility for the CRA. So we need to get this housing survey done first so we can get the community reinvestment on the next agenda.
Any other, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of council, this money is already in the budget. It was in the Youngstown State budget amount that you set aside. So you're not spending any additional money by approving this measure.
Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Beer?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Sept?
Yes.
We have a Resolution 46-2019 tonight, a resolution in recognition and congratulations to Ken Groff, CEO and founder of Venture Plastics Incorporated. Whereas Ken Groff has, with deep devotion and professional commitment, incorporated Venture Plastics Incorporated on October 21st, 1969, and whereas Ken Groff took his first job in the plastic industry in the late 1950s, and whereas Venture Plastics Incorporated moved to 4001 Road, Newton Falls in 1973, and whereas Ken Groff has been instrumental in expanding Venture Plastics into Mesopotamia, Leavittsburg and Middlefield, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas. And whereas in 2017, Venture attained IATF certification and initiated a cultural workforce transformation program. In 2018, they purchased 3D printing equipment, and in 2019, Venture annexed into the city of Newton Falls. And whereas Ken Groff has witnessed the tremendous growth into the plastics industry over the past 50 years, has been part of both the changes and the constants during the period. Whereas the City of Newton Falls would like to acknowledge and thank Ken Groff for his service to the City of Newton Falls and recognize him for his professionalism and for his commitment to the City of Newton Falls throughout his career. Council for the City of Newton Falls, State of Ohio, hereby resolves, Section 1, the City of Newton Falls City Council, State of Ohio, hereby congratulates and commends Ken Groff for his attention to detail, professionalism, and dedication to his profession. Section 2, Newton Falls City Council hereby requests all residents to join us in honoring Ken Groff for his lifetime achievements on the 50th anniversary of Venture Plastics Incorporated. Is there a motion to accept Resolution 46-2019?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to be heard, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
I'll defer to the chair if there's something you wanted to say. It looks like you did.
I did, yes. I thought there was a one-day renaming of the road somewhere.
Well, that's, do you want me to go into that now?
Well, yeah, I just didn't see it listed. I thought we
Yeah.
were going to do that.
No, well, it was supposed to be a surprise until you said something a moment ago.
I'm sorry, you didn't tell me it was a surprise.
They're not getting this program in Texas.
Okay, good.
So I think we're good. Members of City Council, modern industry has lots of options. Some of the options are even on foreign soil. You've heard about factories moving to Mexico and other places. And if you look at the list here, Mr. Groff's company has plants in Mesopotamia, Ohio, Leavittsburg, Ohio, Middlefield, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas. And they're here in Newton Falls. Newton Falls recently, the folks at Venture Plastics went to 3 shifts. And 50 years ago, who imagined that the plastics industry would evolve to the point where you find a bunch of little plastic beads that you can order, and they're made from things such as milk jugs that are melted down and so forth, and then repurposed into creating fixtures for automobiles. And if you go into a restaurant and you find a little plastic holder holding Smucker's jelly, little tiny containers that you put on your toast, that plastic holder is manufactured by Venture Plastics here now in Newton Falls, Ohio. And I want to make sure we extend to Mr. Groff every single opportunity to thank him for what he's doing here. And there's a method to some of this, and that is we want him to understand he is so welcome here that they'll continue to expand. They have the opportunity to do some new building over there. That's how fast they're growing. And I want that new building to happen right here in Newton Falls, not in El Paso, not in Mesopotamia, not in Leavittsburg, and not in Middlefield. I want that to happen here. And so this recognizes Mr. Groff. And on Friday, the 20th of September, at 4 o'clock over at Venture Plastics, I'm inviting all members of council and from the public to go over to Venture Plastics there on Warren Road. And Mr. Groff will be coming in from Texas, and we will honor him in a number of ways, some of which will be somewhat of a surprise. But the point, though, is to make sure Mr. Groff understands that Newton Falls means business. We are a business-friendly community, and I'm just delighted with the fact that he is gracing us with his presence to commemorate this outstanding company. I expect that within the next 10 years, this will be up in the Fortune 500 in terms of organizations. That's how fast they're growing and how technologically advanced they are. The mayor read part of the resolution that identifies the use of 3D printing, which is now revolutionizing factory production in the United States, and Venture Plastics is right there at the top. So nice going, Ken Groff, and we expect to sing your praises on Friday, September 20th at 4 o'clock. So those of you from council that can make it, I know the mayor will be there, but please get there if you can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Bariak?
Yes.
Savet?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Finance Department's July and August monthly reports and all the attachments as presented.
Make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? I have a few things if nobody else does. This was a very interesting document to read. You made a motion to accept the document, and all of council has seen that. Anything pop out, any questions about this whole document that, anybody wanted to bring up? There were some questions, and I really, when you sit down and you look at this document, there was 220 pages to the document, and a lot of information. And when you take some, the documents that were part of a public records request, and you take the documents from the budget and some some projections for next year and lay them all out on the table, it gets a little confusing. But the one thing that's nice about it is not only did I sit down and take some time to look at it, and there wasn't enough time.
It's massive.
It is, and I was busy on the weekend, so I had to look at it this morning, and I was kind of going in a direction, and then I got a call from Ms. Carl, the Fourth Ward candidate, and she says, "We got a problem." And I says, "What's the problem?" And she says, "On this page, where'd all this money come from?" And it was enormous. And I said, "Well, that's interesting." So now I sat down for the next hour to try to figure out where all this came from, and I couldn't find it. And I had been trying to call Miss Musson, but she was busy doing some other things, and I was working in between. And I figured I was going to have to come here tonight and ask it. And Attorney Fritz knows I hate putting anything on the agenda and putting somebody on the spot like that. Luckily, we got a phone call and we got it straightened out. This document, this money is a revolving loan fund that started in 2006. And there was $750,000 total over the years in a revolving loan fund that goes to be lent out to people to work on their homes. And you've really struck a chord right here, because now that you brought this up and we had this discussion, we have found out that out of that money, there's about $715,000 outstanding in this loan fund from loans that the city has made to people to rehab their houses. And we're supposed to get that back either through payments or through the sale of the home. We get that money back because it's put on their taxes or on their property. It's a deed restriction, and we're supposed to get that money back, and we haven't yet. And there's okay, I'll just explain it, but I just wanted to, I appreciate the fact that you looked at that and you found that, because it really started a lot more discussion. Then I get another phone call from the Second Ward Council candidate, Nancy Hoffman, and she's looking at this thing, and she says, look at all these negative balances here. She says, I think I know what they are, but do you know really what they are? And so I kind of looked at them, and I had a suspicion because I had been looking at this already, and I said, well, I believe that some of this money does come out of the enterprise funds, and I think some of it has to do with a future reappropriation, which you confirmed. So there are people that are out there looking at these budgets and looking at the information and trying to decipher and make sure that everything's going right. And I appreciate your efforts, because I saw it, and it didn't quite ring a bell, but as soon as you said that, then I started digging, and it really did ring a bell. So please, go ahead.
Just to clarify, it was a community development block grant. It's called the Housing Revolving Loan, where folks can apply through our consultant of NDNS, which is the Neighborhood Development Consultant out of Ravenna. But this program has been going on, I think the first grant was written in 1984, and so we've had this program on the books for a long period of time. Now, the repayment process, it does go with the home, but as long as the homeowner stays in the home, they don't have to pay it back until the house is resold. So eventually, that's why we have to put it on the books again, is let me explain, we have to be 100% accountable. It's this GAAP basis. It's considered a receivable, a loan receivable, so that money is anticipated to come back to the city at some point in time, but we have to follow the grant parameters.
I liked your first comment. She goes, "Oh my gosh, that's a typo." And I'm thinking, that's a heck of a typo there. I'm glad we caught that. And then she called me back and explained it. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate, the fact that there are people looking at the budget. Like I said, I can only spend so much time looking at it, and, you try to compare notes, and we know that there's going to be reappropriations. We know that things are going on, but thank you for the work you do. Thank you for looking at these things and bringing it up. It's always good to at least clarify answers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you could recognize me. What I wanted to mention also is the revolving loan fund. Funds originated from the federal government community development block grant. And I mention that because this is federal money that we loaned out again that we got from the federal government. It's not funds that we took from our local taxpayers or our local property tax. These are funds that the federal government gave us only for the purpose of loaning out for these home loans. And that money, when it's repaid, goes back in that self-contained fund. So this fund is totally insulated from our regular tax collections or fees, zoning fees, or property taxes. The second thing I'm going to do was address indirectly one of the questions that was raised earlier because it relates to this report in general. When you vote to accept the CAFR or the report, and the report that's in the CAFR, when you vote to accept that, you're voting to receive it. You're not endorsing it. You're not saying, I've read this and I think it's fantastic. That's not what you're saying when you vote. You're merely voting to accept it so that you have possession of it, so to speak, for your own review. And that means that, as the mayor said, it's a massive report. So my expectation is not that you'd come here tonight and say, I got it on Friday and I've got a whole bunch of questions, which is fine. But throughout the course of the year, anytime you have a question about the CAFR, to properly analyze the CAFR, because it's so comprehensive, and because we've never had one before, it's going to take some significant time to digest. And next year, we'll do a CAFR again. It'll be a lot easier because now we've created the template. But in addition to that, we'll see other things that we want to increase in terms of the amount of information that you receive. So the CAFR is a document that says we're in good shape, and this is the detailed report as to why. And in fact, there are fund reports with details in it that this council has never, in its history, ever received information for. And the benefit of that is transparency. Transparency to the penny of the method of operations of the city of Newton Falls. So I hope that's responsive at least to one of the questions that came forward.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I might have an address. We will be going into the budget October 21st. We will be receiving a detailed budget for all of us to go over, and then we will haggle all this out.
Sure.
Sure, okay. Thank you.
The other thing that I found that was interesting that kind of sparked my interest in is, do you know when the last loan out of that fund was? Off the top of your head?
No, I have to do some research on that. No,
Well, the only reason I asked that is because that was one of the things that I had mentioned to you is I haven't heard anybody talking about getting a loan out of that fund. I thought it was over with, and when you come back with that, I thought the fund was done and it had been, wiped clean. But there's a lot of money out there that if we can get it back into the fund, then it leaves money available for our residents to take loans out and to repair their homes. There is about $80,000 in that fund.
Approximately 81
And some of that fund can be used for demolition of homes and stuff, I understand. But basically, it was made for, to loan to people to fix their homes. So if we can do some research, find out, make sure that our due diligence and that those people are still in their homes and that we haven't lost any of that money. But if we can get that money, back into our funds, then we can get that money back out to our residents and use it. So it was a good conversation. I was glad to at least sit down and discuss that. So roll, please.
Savet.
Yes.
Beer.
Yes.
Bariak.
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the police department July's and August monthly reports in the attachments?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll, please.
Beer.
Yes.
Bariak. Savet.
Yes.
Is there a motion to make October 21st, 2019, our first budget meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? We may have to have a couple of special meetings prior to that to get with department heads and talk about things, so we have some information for those meetings, so that may happen. So, yes.
We typically have had a work session in September to work on capital, and then we have typically in the past had more than just one meeting. So typically what I would like is the October 21st meetings. That's when typically the budget should be done and wrapped up.
Okay.
So we should have meetings well before this. That's
Well-
what we have done in the past.
We'll get together and we can always call a couple special meetings and do
Right.
that, so. Okay. Roll, please.
Bariak.
Yes.
Savet.
Yes.
Beer.
Yes.
Public comments?
Katie Carl, 128 West Quarry, thank you for the answers on that. I greatly appreciate it. And I have a couple more questions, and I know you can't answer. But how much do these CAFRs cost every year if we're going to do them? And yes, they're very comprehensive, and there is so much information. And why does every page say, no assurance if the financial information is accurate? And is that because, as Ms. Munson stated, that there's no certificate yet? Is yes, no? Yours nodding yes and she's nodding no, but
It's because it's not audited yet.
thank you. And I'm sorry, I know they're not supposed to answer. I beg your pardon, Mr. Mayor. So, okay, thank you. I'm sorry. But if it's going to be released to the public, but that every single page says that, there's no assurances that that's accurate. So I know everybody's going to have the same question because every single page says that. So, okay. And when will the crosswalks be marked and the painting be done, be striped? Because no crosswalks, I mean, the roads look lovely. They do. They look beautiful. They're all marked and lined, but there's no crosswalks. So, and I know you're not allowed to answer. Don't answer because I'll get in trouble. Yeah. So I don't want to get in trouble. Excuse me, please. Okay. Anyways, and I don't know if we're going to have if you're going to have another council meeting or not, but they are looking for cookers for the chili cook-off. I do know that. So if anybody out there wants to cook for the chili cook-off, get a hold of 4th of July committee. So, because they were posting that, they need cookers. So, thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Hello, Sandra Braymeyer, 332 Ravenna Road. I live in the village in the 4th Ward. I'd like to speak tonight on the flooding and the terrible rains. I would encourage council, the mayor, and the city manager to vigorously work on this problem of the flooding of the basements. I also think that, whether it's grants or whatever kind of programs they have for this, I suggest you vigorously work on that. The people really need it. I would also like to see a program out to for people to understand maybe what their specific problems are, to help to resolve them. Perhaps they don't understand there's other ways of getting the water out of their basement through battery-operated sump pumps or check valves at the street, anything that will help them eliminate the problem now until the major problem can be dissolved. I think some people may not understand how to do that. I heard one gentleman say, well, what do you want me to do? The electric went out, my sump pump wouldn't work. And it's like, there's other ways you can do that. And I think that if we had a little program like we did with the firemen and the smoke alarms, that people might call and say, gee, could you come out and see what my problem is? And maybe you could advise me as what to do. Okay? All right, that's it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sept. Mr. Bariak.
Tonight, I wrote down a few things that, on two pressing issues in the community. And I want the people of Newton Falls to know, upon completion of the rate study of the utilities and the electric, I will, with the help of the city manager and hopefully other councilmen, introduce a reduction to our electric rates. I will not, and I say again, I will not vote to increase our electric or utilities. First, we need to help our citizens that live in our community. I hope all people who are in government will agree with me. Number one, to reduce the electric rates. Number two, to solve any problems with our flooding situations. And number three, to continue to support the things that will make Newton Falls a better place to live and beautify our community. Thank you.
Mr. Beer. I have nothing. Mr. Fritz. Mr. Fritz. City Manager, Mr. Mensch.
Just a couple of things. First of all, I'll say thank you to everybody that helped us in the grand opening of our now publicly accessible zoning and code enforcement office at 36 West Broad Street. It is a really beautiful office and citizen-friendly office. Some of you are seeing the video right now on your screen as I'm talking, and the mayor was there to help dedicate the opening of it. Councilman Bariak was there, Councilman Sept was there, and a number of citizens. This office has been open so people can realize that the zoning office and code enforcement is available for you to have access to. The former location of that office was in the basement of the finance department, in the area that I referred to as the dungeon. It was not handicapped accessible, and quite frankly, it was a place where if you were uncomfortable with confined spaces, you would have been very uncomfortable. And it's exciting, and they will be open from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. The zoning officer will on occasion have to go out on calls, but the phone number is there, and do make those calls, and he will respond to them very quickly and effectively. So I also wanted to mention that the flooding activity that's been discussed is something in which we are speaking with our hydrology engineers. The mayor actually took a tour with our hydrologist to determine areas in which some of this can be controlled. And mayor and members of council, my intention is to have the hydrologist look at some other areas of the community as well. But everybody knows our sewer system is a combined sewer system, sanitary and storm lines combined. That's not good for the environment, and it's not good for basements. And piece by piece, we will go throughout the city and resolve those problems on a permanent basis. It'll take a long time. It'll take a lot of money. In the meantime, the hydrologist can also help give us some suggestions about how to address these things. And everybody throughout the community experience some kind of flooding. Some of those people are at this table, and you know who you are. I know Councilman Beer had some water, and the mayor was thinking of building an ark the other night. It was substantial. So the people that help administer this government, they're experiencing those things too. And our engineers will develop a solution, and we'll find out a way to pay for it. But in the meantime, we will send our staff out anytime you make a call. And we've probably had the staff there out at 20 to 25 different locations already, even Saturday morning, right after the storms were beginning to recede. So it's something they're dedicating themselves to. Now, here's something happy to report. The bridge on Broad Street is reopening the 21st of September, Saturday, at 7 a.m. And I'm asking every member of council to be there. The mayor will cut the ribbon. The marching band of the Newton Falls High School Tigers will be there in full uniform and regalia. And they will lead a march after the ribbon is cut from the Napa Auto Parts parking lot across the bridge over to the vicinity of the other end of the bridge there. And please come and enjoy yourself. We will provide breakfast to anybody that shows up and coffee. And in addition to that, everyone should be aware of the fact that the covered bridge won't open for another couple of weeks because we have to move the gas line. But the city of Newton Falls will be a divided city no more. We are reunified, and the only thing that I can imagine was more exciting was the fall of the Berlin Wall. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, just a couple of comments, and I'll comment on the electric rates that Mr. Bariak talked about. And, I hope that, everybody holds true in doing that. Saying you want to see the rates lowered and working to lower the rates are two enormously different projects. The city manager and I have been working diligently this year to attempt to lower our utility rates, and there's more to it than absolutely meets the eye. There's hydro contracts, there's just so many things that isn't worth sitting here discussing because it isn't going to work. We've met with AMP Ohio. The city manager has been entertaining citizens around the community about their electric bills, and I think he's done a good job with that. Mine I was concerned about. I'll see how it works next month, and because we keep a detailed record of kilowatt hour usage and all that, so I can go back and judge on mine. And mine was up a little more than usual. But I think you've sat down with the customers who had questions and explained things, and actions are being taken with those people. But when it comes to the rates with AMP, we're not governed by the Public Utilities Commission, and we have contracts for different purchase power agreements through PJM, through AMP, through other providers across the auction network where they auction off utilities. And it's a lot more complicated than probably anybody here understands. We have a meeting coming up this week with members of AMP again. They have a conference coming up next week. I will be at that conference, and I certainly intend to speak to the board about the rates and some of the contracts that we have. But I'm going to hold my thoughts until we have the meeting this week with the members of AMP to see what they have come back with since we've talked to them before. So we are looking at the utility rates. We're looking at them very hard. We're looking to see what we can do, and we'll just, time's going to tell. I mean, that's the only thing we can do is work with it. And I didn't mean to interrupt you with the first comments, Ms. Carl, but I didn't want you to stand up there for wasting your time going through the whole thing when you'd explained it and I had talked about it. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just didn't want you to have you explain everything and then we were going to go do it again. So I apologize for that. And I do want to send a thank you out to Ms. Kathy Wujik and to Nancy Hoffman for helping to remove all the flags from a couple of cemeteries. They got the Key Club and the honor students from the high school to go over and help them do that. And they also, the Kiwanis have a plot that's up there in the corner beside Domino's Pizza that they maintain, and they've got that all cleaned up, ready for next year. So, any motions to go into executive session? Motion to adjourn? Second? Roll, please.
Sept? Yes. Beer? Yes. Bariak? Yes. Keep going. Who else? Keep going. Who else? You said it, and I didn't catch it.